Emmanuel Wanyonyi just sent a brutal warning to the entire 800-meter world. Djamel Sedjati chased him all the way to the line. Both men broke 1:42, and Wanyonyi still produced the fastest time of the season. The margin was only 7/100ths. The message was much bigger. The Letzigrund Stadium in Zurich, Thursday evening, the 27th of August. The men's 800 meters sat late on a very loud program, and it was not even a Diamond League points race. Organizers added it to the schedule as a bonus event, purely because the field was too good to leave off the card. Wanyonyi did what Wanyonyi always does. He pushed straight to the front, made the pace honest, and dared everybody behind him to come and take it off him. Down the back straight, Djamel Sedjati of Algeria began the long, patient windup on the outside that has troubled the Kenyan for 3 seasons now. Around the final bend, Sedjati was still closing. Into the home straight, he was still closing. And then he simply ran out of track. Wanyonyi crossed in 141.76. Sedjati stopped the clock at 141.83, a season's best for the Algerian, and the closest he has come to beating this man in a 2-lap race since the World Final in Tokyo. That winning time matters for a very specific reason. Since late June, the fastest 800 meters in the world belonged to Marco Arop. The Canadian went out hard at Stade Charlotte in Paris and posted 141.84, and for 2 full months, nobody else on the planet even broke 142. Wanyonyi has now taken that world lead off him by 0.08 of a second. More importantly, he took it in a head-to-head fight rather than a paced time trial, which is by far the harder way to run a fast 800. And a fast 800 meters means something very different today than it did 10 years ago, because this event has gone through a genuine explosion. At the Olympic final in Paris in 2024, 4 men broke 142 in the same race for the first time in history, and Wanyonyi won that one by a single 100th of a second. At the World Final in Tokyo last September, 8 men finished inside 143, which had also never happened before, and Wanyonyi took gold there, in a championship record of 141.86. So when he posts a world lead in 2026, he is doing it in the deepest era this event has ever known. Now, the strange part. This might have only been the 4th biggest story of the evening. Alison dos Santos of Brazil opened the record breaking by running 45.80 in the 400 meters hurdles, taking the world record away from Karsten Warholm and leaving the Norwegian trailing in second. Less than 40 minutes later, Masai Russell ran 12.09 in the 100 meters hurdles and broke that world record too. Mondo Duplantis cleared 6.25 meters in the pole vault. Audrey Wera won the women's 800 meters in 153.70 in front of a delighted Swiss crowd. 2 world records inside a single hour at the same meeting. In almost any other season, a world-leading 800 meters would have led every bulletin on the planet. On this night in Zurich, it had to stand in a queue. To understand why this run means so much to Wanyonyi, you have to look honestly at everything that came before it, because his 2026 season started badly. In Rabat back in May, Britain's Max Bergen attacked with 300 meters to go and simply ran away from the field. Wanyonyi trailed home more than half a second behind him. In Oslo, he was beaten again, this time by the young American Cooper Lutkenhaus. Then came the London meeting in July, where Brandon Miller of the United States ran a personal best to win, and Wanyonyi finished 4th, off the podium completely in the event he owns. 3 Diamond League races, over 2 laps for the reigning Olympic and world champion, and not a single victory in any of them. Then in Monaco, he did something that nobody in the sport saw coming. Wanyonyi entered the 1,000 meters at the Stade Louis II. He had never raced the distance in his life. He tucked in behind the pacemakers, took over in the closing stretch, held off Britain's Jake Whiteman down the finishing straight, and crossed the line in 2:11.83. That took 0.13 off a world record set by his countryman Noah Ngeni in Rieti in 1999, a mark that had survived for 27 years. Reporters immediately asked him about the 800 meters world record. He refused to discuss it. He said he wanted to run faster and improve his personal best first, and that actions speak louder than words. Since that night in Monaco, the results have followed him around. In Lausanne, he finally got his first 2-lap win of the season, beating Sedjati by 0.12 of a second. Now in Zurich, he has beaten him again, almost half a second quicker, with the world lead attached to it. Do not read Zurich as a soft win though, because Sedjati is nobody's supporting character. The Algerian is the 5th fastest 800 meters runner in recorded history, holding a national record of 141.46 from Monaco in 2024. He took Olympic bronze in Paris and world silver in Tokyo, finishing behind Wanyonyi both times by the smallest of margins. He arguably owns the most dangerous finishing kick in the entire event. His problem, race after race after race, is that Wanyonyi refuses to leave him enough road to use it. It is worth remembering where this man actually comes from, because the story sitting behind the stopwatch is not a small one. Wanyonyi is the 5th of 12 children. There was never enough money at home for school fees, so he dropped out of primary school at the age of 10 and went to work herding cattle to help feed his family. His father died when he was 14, and his mother moved away with the younger children. He has spoken openly about using his prize money to buy land and build a house for his mother and his siblings, and about learning to stop complaining about his situation and simply stay patient with it. A decade after leaving that cattle field, he was standing on top of the Olympic podium in Paris. Which brings us to the number every Kenyan athletics fan is genuinely thinking about tonight. David Rudisha ran 1:40.91 at the London Olympic Games in 2012. 14 years later, that time is still the world record, and it remains one of the most respected marks in the entire sport. Wanyonyi's personal best is 1:41.11, set in Lausanne in August 2024, which ties him with Wilson Kipketer as the second fastest man who has ever lived over 2 laps. 20 hundredths of a second separate him from the history books. Zurich was clearly not that run. 1:41.76 sits comfortably outside the record. But consider the circumstances. This was a tactical race with no pacemaker dragging him around against the fastest active rival he has in the closing week of a very long season. That exact combination is usually where records come from later, not tonight. The calendar ahead is about to get seriously interesting. The Diamond League final arrives in Brussels on the 4th and 5th of September, with the Diamond Trophy and automatic qualification for Budapest waiting for the winners. After that comes the inaugural World Athletics Ultimate Championship at the National Athletics Center in Budapest, running from the 11th to the 13th of September. A 3-day event with a $10 million prize pool, where only the very best in the world are invited to compete. Winning in Brussels does more than hand somebody a trophy. It guarantees a place in Budapest on the spot, which is exactly why the Diamond League final now carries far more weight than it used to carry. For everybody who does not win there, qualification comes down to where they sit in the world rankings on the 1st of September. Wanyonyi walks into both of those with the fastest time in the world, the reigning Olympic title, the reigning world title, and a 1,000 meters world record he picked up in July, almost as a side project. Zurich told us something very simple. When Emmanuel Wanyonyi is healthy and racing well, nobody in this event has a reliable answer for him.